So today, what I'd like to do, and since I'm not wearing a mic, I guess I'm going to stay in my box. What I'd like to do with you today is, instead of preach to you, is share what's been going on over the last 3 months with me. Is that okay? I'm going to take the controller, Alex. So don't fall asleep back there. Okay. All right. So you may have known or may not have known, I'm a chaplain in the Missouri National Guard. I've been a chaplain for almost 10 years now, served with engineers, field artillery, and now I'm part of a medical unit. It's one of the smallest units I've been a part of, but as of January, that's the change that has happened, is I've moved to that unit. And as you know, since January, we've all been anticipating this COVID-19 business, and as God would have it, that's the unit that got picked to head up this mission, for Missouri at least. And I think the similar things are going on all across the nation, really. So what's going on with me is really a microcosm nationwide. Every state where I see National Guard implemented, they're doing very similar things to what we've been doing. So what you see me doing is very similar in every state. It may not be exactly the same, but I just want to share with you some of the things that I do as a chaplain. So being a chaplain is a little different in the respect that it's, instead of shepherding sheep, it's more like shepherding goats. But let's see if I can get the remote to work here. Maybe. No. Yeah, there. So that's not a picture from this year, but that's my one annual training where I was growing out my mustache. But with the field artillery, we put on the whole gear because it's a very dangerous job blowing up M777s in the field with live ammunition. So that was a lot of fun. Probably got a little hearing loss from that, but it was great to work with those guys. Just to give you a microcosm of a little bit of our organizational structure, the unique thing about the Guard, if you don't know, is that we're governed both by the president, but also by the governor. So there's a unique dual role in that we could be called up by either or both. And in today's situation with the COVID-19 response, we have federal funding, but it's falling under state control. So again, it's a unique situation. There's a story about 4 chaplains that I want to share with you just to kind of give you the history of the chaplain corps. When the USAT Dorchester was torpedoed by German submarines, 4 U.S. Army chaplains, which are pictured on the stained glass window at the chaplain school at Fort Jackson, these 4 chaplains offered their aid to the hundreds of men aboard the transport ship, sacrificing their own lives during the rescue. Lieutenant George L. Fox was a Methodist minister. Lieutenant Alexander Good was a Jewish rabbi. Lieutenant John P. Washington was a Roman Catholic priest, and Lieutenant Clark V. Poling was a Dutch Reformed minister. And today they're known simply as the 4 chaplains. But on February 2nd of 1943, the Dorchester was carrying 902 servicemen, merchant seamen, and civilians on a transport mission across the North Atlantic when it was struck by a German torpedo. And the attack punctured the hull and disrupted the ship's electrical system, forcing the crew to evacuate in complete darkness. Amid the chaos, the chaplains helped guide the wounded and panicking men to safety. Life jackets were in short supply, and the chaplains removed their own life jackets and gave them to others. They helped as many men as possible into lifeboats, and then they linked arms on the ship's deck, singing hymns and prayers as the ship sank into the sea. And for their actions, the men were posthumously awarded the Purple Heart and the Distinguished Service Cross. Later, Congress authorized the 4 chaplains medal, which was presented to the next of kin of each of the 4 chaplains. So just a little bit of history of some of the chaplain corps there. And to tell you a little bit about my unit, it's the 229th Medical Multifunctional Battalion. The 229th provides a scalable, flexible, modular medical battle command, administrative assistance, logistical support, and technical supervision capabilities for assigned and attached medical organizations. simply put, in today's mission, what we're doing, we're command and control for the different soldiers that we have going out and doing community-based testing. So some of the missions that we have going on are community-based testing, where a county in the state might not have the supplies to do the COVID testing. So they're going out, they're setting up a tent, we're providing medics that can actually do the test in full PPE, and people drive through, and I'll show you some pictures here in a minute of that. But then the chaplain mission is simply to nurture the living, care for the wounded, and honor the fallen. It's our threefold mission as chaplains. Here's one of our medics, and her unique story is that this is U.S. Air Force. So what's unique about this COVID mission is that we're working in collaboration with the Air Force Guard. So in the Missouri, in all states actually, we have the Air Guard and the Army Guard. None of the other components have a Guard component. But this is U.S. Air Force Christy Miller, assigned to the 139th Medical Group, Missouri Air National Guard. And this is in front of her testing tent, so people will drive through the tent. And this is actually in Independence. And this photo was taken in May. And this is says they're able to provide 500 tests per day. So imagine the amount of cars, traffic, the hazards that can present to our soldiers, but also to people driving through. So they were there for 5 days, and the governor set a goal of testing 10,000 residents in 10 days, which is quite a bit. And I believe that was easily met, not just by this one unit, but units across the state. And here's another picture of her doing the test. We just asked them to roll down their window. They put the swab in. And another unique thing about this particular Private First Class Arroyo, she is with the 205th. Her father's a colonel and a medical provider for the Missouri Army National Guard Homeland Response Force. And they're both simultaneously activated serving on this COVID mission. So I thought that was pretty cool. And they're in my unit, or these soldiers are in my unit, not her dad. Okay, and there's me, because I know you didn't get to see enough of me. But to the right there is a picture of one of the memorial. When I went out to Jefferson Barracks, which is near St. Louis, I had no idea they had such a vast memorial to fallen soldiers of World War II. And I'm not sure what other soldiers, there might be a lot of other tombstones there as well from other conflicts, but just a vast number. It's kind of like going to Arlington Cemetery. There's just thousands upon thousands of tombstones there. So that was neat to see that, and honoring the dead as part of the chaplain mission, right? So that was hit me pretty hard when I saw that, visiting soldiers at that location. So one of the hard parts about being away, though, is not getting to see your family. Well, they did get to come up and see me a little bit. I think it was around Father's Day, if I'm not mistaken. But here we are. We have Harper and Alex doing a little fishing. And as you can see, Alex doesn't even look like he's got the pole in the water. Are you? He doesn't look too enthusiastic. But anyway. And I thought I had some other pictures. Let me see if it comes up. All right, there's Harper with her catch, one of them. She caught 6 fish that day while Alex caught none. So she knows how to take a picture. And there's the family. We went to Mark Twain Cave for a little Father's Day getaway in the middle of the mission. And if you couldn't tell, we got one on the way as well. So while I was on mission, I was able to do a baptism for one of our soldiers. And then he got to baptize his son right after. So that was pretty cool to be a part of. Also did a wedding for an airman. Let's see. I guess that picture didn't get put up. Anyway, on this next slide, I want to show you there's a map of Missouri. And right where, guess where I was? Right here in this box, right where the red is. This is a COVID Act Now website where you can see where the hot spots are. I don't know if you guys have been on some of those sites, but it's kind of interesting to see the counties right around me were redder than Kansas City and St. Louis. And that's not because they were worse, it's because the percentage of numbers was increasing faster than in the cities. So it was not increasing. Does that make sense? That it was accelerating more in those spots. But that right here is where I was. And I was trying to cover down on troops all across the state, which I'm still doing, by the way. So, all right, and there's some more pictures, during this time. Think about all the things that have happened over the last 3 months. And I hope you guys were appreciative of William being able to be here and fill in for me. It has been a crazy 3 months watching the protests or riots, whichever you want to call them. Protests that turned into riots. Some of our soldiers, these are pictures of people in Washington, D.C. These aren't my soldiers. But I was watching this live as it was happening. And man, I'm sure you were having just as much anticipation as I was. What's going to happen? Our world's all in turmoil, and it seems like there's nothing I can do. But all across the nation, we got soldiers that were employed to put up the front line. What's funny about National Guard soldiers are respected more than, could you imagine, the local police departments? They are. And even in this picture, you can see the line of where the soldiers are. Like right here, there's a whole line of soldiers, there's a whole line of protesters. And the abuse that those soldiers were taking was just unbelievable. Being name-called, spit on, just verbally abused, about as bad as it could be. And I don't know if I could have done it if I was in their shoes. I mean, really, they were taking a hammering and just standing there, straight-faced, taking it, So definitely keep them in your prayers as things continue. And this slide's just simply to show that as I've been gone, I've had to learn how to be social media savvy. So I've got a lot of videos out there, and we created a virtual chapel page for the unit so that all the soldiers, while they're out in the field, although I may not be able to be in contact with all of them all at the same time, we can all connect on the virtual chapel page for the unit. So that was pretty cool to be able to build that up and be a part of that. The next page, or the next slide, is I got to take my first helicopter ride. That was pretty cool. Just fun for me, not for you. But it was super fun. A little nauseating. A plane just goes straight, but a helicopter kind of goes like this. It doesn't keep exactly straight the whole time. But it was super cool. And I don't know if you guys got to see the video that I brought last time, but that I sent for them to play a few months back maybe. But wanted to give you guys a taste of what was going on. And the whole time I'm sitting at living out of a hotel for the last 3 months, trying to figure out where are all these truckers going. There's a lot of truckers going in and out of all these hotels and truck stops, and my heart just really went out to them. I mean, this isn't part of my job, is worrying about the truck drivers, but it just kind of struck me as, wow, somebody needs to minister to these truck drivers. There's a lot of truck drivers that just coming in and out of hotels. There's no parking areas for truckers at churches. Did you realize that? No truckers are pulling into our parking lot on Sunday mornings to come to church. So how do the truckers get ministered to? Well, after several weeks of me thinking about this, pondering about this, praying about this, I go around the back of the gas station, just kind of driving around, and lo and behold, there's this truckers' chapel sitting right behind the gas station, available for the truckers to have church on Sunday mornings. I thought that was pretty cool, so I wanted to share that with you. So here's a picture of us celebrating the Chaplain Corps' birthday, which every year happens around the same time. And in this picture, you'll see our Missouri State Chaplain, Chaplain Moore. And here's one of our NGB, National Guard Bureau chaplains, Rabbi, in the back there. And we all got to eat cake that was cut by the Adjutant General of Missouri. So that was fun to participate in. But we had a couple days where all the chaplains that could got together. We probably had 40 some chaplains in one room, which was a little scary. We were all spaced out, though, wearing our masks and practicing social distancing. But it was good to see what God is doing across the spectrum of different chaplains, and get some training as well from other people in other fields. Let's see what else I got here. Okay, so this is in one of the parking lots of the community-based testing sites. in Warrensburg. And so what they did, I don't know if I've got the slide up. No. Let's see. So, is there a video on that one? No? Okay. So, in this picture, you see the tall one is my commander. And then the one of them next to him on his right, on his left, on the far right, is an Air Force gal. She was helping direct traffic that day, and I believe they awarded her a coin for appreciation for participating in the mission. And on the far left, that's our Command Sergeant Major for the unit. He just retired this year. I was able to participate. Actually, I wasn't able to participate in his retirement ceremony because I was on quarantine. But I'll tell you about that story here too. So, but before I tell you about that story, here's a picture of Alex when he finally gets out of 8th grade. This is his 8th grade, and if he, yeah, okay, you get it, okay. All right, so, and then there's a picture of our baby to come. Let's see if the video will play. No? Can you put the slide back up? Oh, there we go. Will the video play? Yeah. That's the face I made when I found out. No. So, yeah, we got a baby due in November. So Cassie's had to handle a lot of pregnancy and dealing with the 5 kids without me, and that's been really hard on her. So she appreciates your prayers, those that have been praying for her and lifting her up. But I want to share with you too about my quarantine experience. So I thought I might have COVID at one point, and I was like, man, I got this headache that just won't go away. Had it for like a week. I was really thinking, well, I don't think I have it. I'm not really feeling pukey or anything like that. Never had a fever. Had some cold sweats off and on, but it wasn't feverish. It was just every once in a while. And so I went and got tested just for peace of mind, and they told me that the results would come back in a couple of days. Well, so anyway, I drive there. I'm in the parking lot. I have to wait a couple hours for the nurse to come out because the doctor was having an emergency, and so I had to come back a little bit later. Finally, they came out and tested me, rolled down my window. The nurse says, okay, I've got to go in both nostrils. Has anybody here been tested? Okay, so several of us. Okay, I hope it was all negative. But she's like, okay, I got to go in both nostrils. I'm like, okay. And she goes in one, and I cough like, she's got the mask on, but I'm coughing in her face. I can't help it, right? She's like, okay, I've got to go in the other one. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cough in your face, She goes in the other one. I'm like, okay, I'm glad that's over with. She goes to put it in her vial, and she drops it on the ground. All I can do is laugh because I'm like, this is just perfect, So she's like, oh, I've got to test you again. I'm sorry, I've got to do it again. So I'm like, okay, whatever. It's like a big joke, Thanks God. You can't even be mad. It's just things happen, So when she came back out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put the mask over my mouth like people do when they're not wearing a mask, right? And so then she can swab me and I won't cough in her face. So I did it and didn't cough in her face that time. So that made me feel better at least. And she got both noses again and both nostrils again rather. And I was hoping to get the results back that Friday so I could get off quarantine, but I had to stay in the hotel till they found the results. And so I had to stay all weekend. Then finally that Monday, they called me back and told me the results and said it was negative. So praise God it wasn't COVID or I'd already been cured from it by then, who knows. But it's just strange of an environment that we're living in today to be so worried about, these things. Not just COVID, but the protests, the political environment. It's an election year. People are getting up in arms about all kinds of stuff. And so anyway, I wanted to share with you some of the stuff that was going on with me over the last few months. I hope that's okay. This isn't necessarily a sermon, but God has been using me, and I want you to be assured that God is using me in the field. I've been providing chapel service to soldiers, bring soldiers to God, bring God to soldiers. Not only that, but a few weeks ago, there was 3 soldiers in the last month that have been having suicidal ideations that I was able to connect with, intervene with. I even drove one to the hospital myself because that's just where he was needing to go at that time. So if nothing else, that's worth a lot, I think. 3 months, 3 lives, that's pretty powerful. And I'm thankful to be a part of that. And I thank you for allowing me to be gone and to be a part of that. So thank you for your prayers while I've been gone. And not sure what else I got on here, but let's see. See, is that a video or is that just a picture? There we go. You get a live video of the kiddo. Isn't that cool? We're not going to find out whether it's a boy or a girl until delivery time. That way we can be just as surprised as everyone else. I think it's interesting to let it be a surprise. We didn't get to do that with our first 4, but on the 5th one we did, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And God allowed me, since I was going to be gone on Harper's birthday, I found a photographer who just happened to be doing unicorn pictures the day before her birthday. So I was like, okay, if I can't be there, let's at least give her a present. So she was enthralled with that. I don't know if you can see how photogenic she is from where you're sitting, but she had a great day that day. And my family once again. If there's no other thing that I do it for, I always want to come back home and see my family. My family is what keeps me going. Family is what holds it together. If I didn't have a family, I'd probably be a lot worse off. But I thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. And the future holds unknowns, right? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We've been in a lot of strange times over the last 3 months. So what I want to encourage you with this slideshow, with the slide deck, with the times that we're living in, with the uncertainty that we're living with, we do have a certainty that God is coming back. We have certainty that God's already promised that there will be plagues, diseases, there will be things that get hard. Wars, rumors of wars, Matthew 24 lays it all out. So this should be no surprise. Whatever you think about this COVID, whether you think it's totally fake or you think that it's, you've got to get a vaccine before you can take the mask off, wherever you are on that spectrum, God already foretold about these things. There's other things that are going to happen that we haven't really prepared for. So my question for you is to examine yourself. Are you prepared for what God has coming? I want to encourage you not to just think that we're just going to be raptured out before we have to suffer anything. A lot of the Christians in the first century didn't get to just get raptured out. They suffered limb being torn from limb, being fed to the lions, being sawn in two. When you read the list of things that happened to Paul, Paul and the people of his time, Paul was stoned a couple times. He was left for dead. He was shipwrecked several times. He was put in chains. He was put on house arrest. So how easy do we have it compared to the way it could be? In a lot of foreign countries, it's illegal to be a Christian or to convert to Christianity. But here, it's not illegal. And there are people that are still winning souls. There are people that are still sharing the gospel. There are people that are still wanting to get baptized. So just because we're living in hard times, let's get creative, and I'm sure some of you are, with how we can share that message. I've had to make adjustments. You've all had to make adjustments. So within the confines and the limitations of what we have to do, how can God use you in new and creative ways? We need routines. But we also sometimes need to get out of that routine to make things fresh again. Just like the church needs a new fresh coat of paint, sometimes we need to get out of our comfort zone, out of our routine, and placed where we have to have faith in God to do something. How many times are we trusting in ourselves and our own routine with how to do things? Sometimes we need to get out of that routine. So I just want to encourage you, with changes come challenges, but also opportunities. Every challenge should be seen as an opportunity. So anyway, I'll leave you with that. And then we have an invitation. If Kathy could come up and we'll sing to Just As I Am. I'm sure you know the words. if you're in a place where you need prayer, or you need maybe something bigger than that, maybe you need to get right with God, please come forward during the song. This is the time. That's why we call it an invitation. This is your opportunity to confess your faith in God, to come forward and say you want to become a member of this church, to come forward and say you want to get baptized. That's what we offer the invitation for. It's not just a bookend at the end of service. We all get up and sing, and then that's the end of it. No, it's actually an invitation. It's an opportunity to bring sinners to Christ. So would you stand